Good morning. My name is Neil Redmond, and I'm a trial attorney handling personal injury cases, including all accidents and medical malpractice. And I'm based out of Manhattan. And today I want to talk about the lawsuit process, the initial lawsuit process, and what it means to have a personal injury case and the process to start a personal injury case. If you've been hurt in an accident or been the victim of malpractice, then you should definitely consult with a personal injury lawyer. We lawyers always offer a free consultation for any types of accidents or injury cases. So that's number one. You should not expect to have to pay any money for your consultation. If you call me up on my cell phone, which is listed here, you will always be able to get a free consultation over the phone with respect to your circumstances. And what we're trying to determine is whether the other party who we feel was at fault actually is negligent under the law. So that's what our conversation would be about, number one. Number two, we're going to figure out and ask you what your injuries are that came about as a result of that negligence. So that's really what our conversation is going to be about. I've been practicing law for over 25 years, and I'm going to be able to tell you right off the top of my head whether you have a case, okay? We will talk on the phone, and then if we are going to decide to go forward with your case, you're going to either meet with me in person at my downtown Manhattan office, or I will come to your home or your hospital room if you're not able to come into our office. And when I meet with you, we will be taking down all of your information, your personal information, your date of birth, your social security number, address, location of the incident, how the incident happened, what injuries you sustained, and getting all of the necessary information to go forward with the case. We will also be asking you to sign the retainer agreement. The retainer agreement in all of our cases explains that as a law firm, after we get a result for you, we are entitled to be compensated for 1/3 of whatever we recover for you if it's a regular personal injury case. If it's a medical malpractice case, it's a different type of percentage. It's a sliding scale, and the sliding scale in a nutshell works like this. The law firm gets 30% of the first $250,000, and then it gets reduced by 5% up to $1.25 million, and then the minimum that the firm would be getting after $1.2 million is 10%. And that's all spelled out in the retainer agreement. So you would be signing that retainer agreement that specifies, number one, that is the law firm's fee based on whatever settlement or trial verdict that we get in your case. And number two, that you have the option of having us pay whatever costs are necessary up front, or you can pay those yourself. 99% of my clients ask us to pay the expenses up front, and then they agree to reimburse us at the end of the case for the expenses. Generally speaking, the expenses on most cases are under $1,500. However, if we need to hire an expert, maybe an engineer, to go out and take measurements or produce a report indicating that the condition that caused the accident was a violation of a safety code, or we have to hire an expert in medical malpractice cases, that would be an additional $2,000 to $3,000 that, again, we would pay up front, and we would ask you to pay out of your settlement money. But what I like to tell all of my clients is that if we were to lose the case, which I don't anticipate ever happening, but it's spelled out right in the retainer agreement that if we were to ever lose the case, that you do not owe any attorney's fees, okay? And I say that because I want everyone to understand that this is a no-risk proposition. In other words, you don't have to pay any money up front, and you don't have to pay any attorney's fees or any expenses at the end of the case if we were to lose the case, okay? So, in other words, if we win the case, then, for example, just for a round number, if we were able to settle your case for $100,000 and it's a typical accident case, then the attorney's fee is a third, which is equal to $33,333.33, and the client's share is 2/3, which is equal to $66,666.66. Now, out of the client's share comes the expenses that we have laid out to process your case. And like I said before, it's about $1,500 or less for your typical case. And that consists of the fee for filing the lawsuit with the courthouse, which is $210. We have to serve that lawsuit on the defendants. We use a process server, and that costs about $100 per defendant. We do a deposition of the other side. We have to pay a court reporter about $250, so that gets added. And then there are a variety of smaller expenses, such as mailings and certain communications, possibly transportations. In any event, the bottom line is that whatever we spent on the case, we ask you to repay out of your amount of money. So, like I was saying, if the case settled for $100,000 and the client's share is $66,666, then you would subtract out of that $66,000 $1,500 for whatever we spent on your case, and we will give you a very clear accounting of every penny that we spent, so there's no questions about that. Now, the other thing that comes out of the client's share of the settlement is possibly medical expenses. And I have a whole video that I produced about medical liens that you should watch, but generally speaking, if you have a car accident, then no fault covers all your medical expenses, so that's not an issue. If you have a typical slip and fall accident, you may get treatment under a lien, and a lien is a promise to pay at the end of the case, so you would have to pay that back. And if you used Medicaid or Medicare, they are also entitled to get some of their money back. So, long story short is you may or may not have to pay some of that back, but the good side of it is that when we negotiate a settlement, we're going to present those expenses to the other side, the defendant, and explain to them that they have to increase the offer to enable you to pay back those medical liens. So that's sort of the nutshell situation about how much you would get if the case settled. Pepper, get over here. That's my dog, Pepper. We're taking her to the vet. Anyway, I'm going to cut it short there, and I'll pick up later.